Shifting focus to the broader African continent, cocoa production contributes about 4% to the West African region's GDP, and in Cote d'Ivoire, it can be up to a 20% contribution. And while the demand for the soft commodity has slowed in the country this season, cocoa deliveries to Ghanaian warehouses has jumped by 70%. In the meantime, Nigeria's investment in cocoa processing capabilities is improving. Leeuwner Esterhuysen, economist at Oxford Economics Africa, joins us with greater perspective on cocoa developments in West Africa. Leeuwner, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. And I guess let's just start with the surge we've seen in cocoa prices and some of the factors that have contributed to that.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. So since 2023, there's been a rise in the price. This really materialized in April last year, and there's been spikes in prices since then as well. This has been due to adverse weather and crop disease weighing on production prospects in West Africa, where about 70% of global cocoa supply comes from. So the current price environment, yes, there's been a recovery in global demand since the COVID-19 pandemic, but a lot of it is down to a large shrinkage in supply.
And we mentioned there that, cocoa production, or rather the West Africa, contributes to about 60 to 70% of world cocoa production. That also just filtering through to their economies, right? We mentioned how it could contribute about 20% to Cote d'Ivoire's economy. Just walk me through some of the dynamics and how, that filters through to each economy, including Ghana.
Yeah, so in Cote d'Ivoire, it's probably the biggest out of the West African nations that produce cocoa. And like you mentioned, it's a large component of the economy, and as well as export earnings, it's about 40% of export earnings in Cote d'Ivoire. But it's also important to remember that it's a large source of employment. There's a lot of cocoa farmers in Ivory Coast, in Ghana, and even Nigeria and Cameroon as well. So it's a large source of employment, and it's also a key source of forex earnings for these countries. So, just besides the contributions to economic activity, there are other factors: fiscal revenues, export earnings, forex, and employment as well, that I guess is easy to overlook. But there's a lot of everyday West Africans that rely on the crop for a living.
You touch on the positives there, but there are also some negatives. I mean, there's been a rise in smuggling efforts. Talk to me about how the farm gating prices has been a way to somewhat mitigate that.
Yeah, so in Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, which together they are about 60% of global production, and if you add Cameroon and Nigeria, West Africa is about 70%. So in Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, the government sets a farm gate price, and that's usually set in advance of the new season. So what happens then is, if there's price fluctuations, obviously, if cocoa prices go up, then there's incentive for farmers in Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, to smuggle the cocoa across borders to less regulated markets like Guinea or Liberia or Cameroon or Nigeria, those countries whose prices are more market determined. So there's been efforts by the authorities in Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana to increase farm gate prices, and that has happened at a greater frequency over the last year and a half. But there's still large discrepancies between what farmers can earn in Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana and what they can earn for cocoa in other West African nations.
And how does this then impact those countries' production, just on the back of the smuggling?
So obviously, your official production, declines further because the smuggled cocoa isn't, recorded. So you can't. There's no export earnings recorded on that. There's no forex necessarily official forex benefits on that. There's no fiscal revenues accounted for on that, and then it's very, that's not going to form part of your official, national accounts data necessarily. So yeah, there's a large, and it's a couple of 100,000 tons that get smuggled from these countries. So yeah, for Cote d'Ivoire, that can be 10% of total official production.
Leeuwner, thanks so much for your time and putting things into perspective. I guess now viewers at home know why they're paying a bit extra for their favorite sweet treats. That was Leeuwner Esterhuysen, economist at Oxford Economics Africa.